Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what I want to do is talk about some hidden gems. I think they're hidden in more ways than one. And but then there are some other ones that I want to bring along, part of the same brand, namely Faberge. And there are a lot of surprises I think you might want to hear about. First of all, the deal, one of the hidden gems I found, is Faberge Alexi. Uh, it's 18 karat white gold, 40 millimeters. It's got heat blued syringe hands. Syringe hands are the style that they're fat and then they go out with a little point. Now, it's kind of the hard part about this, trying to find out about these watches, is the caliber. And it's called caliber Faberge F1857, and it's used in some of the other ones too. Now, it's based on a Frederic Piget caliber, but I couldn't find which one. Then I thought, aha, it's really an ETA, but I found out it's definitely not ETA. It's some fabric, some Frederic Piget caliber, and like I said, I couldn't nail it down. Now, there could have been some changes because I found movements that had the same dimensions and everything else in the Frederic Piget, but they had different frequencies. They were all 21,600, and this one is 28,800, very typical 4 hertz. 72-hour reserve, adjusted to 5 positions, 28 jewel sapphire carbocone on the right. You can't have one on the right here. Mine's got one too. You can see that it's a little blue sapphire. Anyhow, now a couple things that I wanted to talk about. First of all, they talked about an engine hand-turned guilloche. In other words, the guilloche, especially around the sides, is done with a Rose engine by hand. And so somebody carves all of this stuff out by hand. And I think to some collectors, they would say, well, what do jewelers, basically, that's what Faberge is best known for, what do they know about that? Well, they know a lot because that's probably more than likely the whole guilloche process began with jewelers and not with watchmakers. And the whole intricate kinds of things they've had. Now, Faberge is most famous for making the Faberge eggs for the Emperor of Russia and some other hot shots. Anyhow, so that was one thing. I'd been wondering about, what this engine turned guilloche looked like. I was interested in comparing it with CNC, and so I sort of did a close-up, and you can see how nice it looks. I don't know if that looks any nicer than if the same thing were done with a CNC, but at least I wanted to see it. Now, here's the other thing. This is why it's a real gem, I think, in a buy. Now, a lot of guys have a collection. They've got a bunch of sports watches, and they don't have a dress watch. And to me, this is a one way to go for a dress watch, but a very good dress watch that could also be used as an everyday, like an office watch. Here's why. First of all, it's white gold, which gives it a nice heft to it. I love the heft that gold and platinum have. It will burn a hole in your budget too. That's one thing. The guilloche, the style the style is something I guess would be an acquired taste if you ever would have one. But the prices is what, and how well built they are. The price that I found on the offer was $66.12 for this particular watch. It was down from $17,000, which is the MSRP. I have a feeling you could offer $4,500 for this and get it, and here's why. A lot of watch collectors are, let me put it in not in a negative way, but in a what I call a realistic way. They're ignorant. Ignorant in this sense. They simply haven't spent the time trying to find out about certain things. If I talk to a person and I want to find out about a Rolex, for example, there are these Rolex guys that know all kinds of stuff, and I would ask them. And I'm ignorant about a lot of stuff about a Rolex. But on some of these other watches, this is where I have found really excellent watches that are made by famous jewelers. And the jewelers have a history of making cases that really eclipse most watchmakers. I have a Chaumet, it's this big deep. It's got sort of ETA, but it's got two nice Agonese gears in it. But the case itself is really beautiful. It's a work of art, of jeweler's art. And I find in Faberge the same thing. Now, they don't have a lot of men's watches, but the ones they have, especially these are from the early 2000s, and they didn't do very well. And again, this is because of ignorance, not stupidity, but just like, who cares about it? It's a fashion model. There's a big difference, okay? Huge difference between a fashion watch that has some cheap movement and some kind of label on it versus something that is by it. You can also take the Chanel Monsieur. You can take the whole line of Hermes. You can take starting to look at what are they called? Louis Vuitton. Some of their watches. So there are things that I think are important to find out about. Now, if you want a dress watch, in this watch, I easily would compete with the likes of a Calatrava. I've had a Calatrava. I love Calatravas, and they're simple time-only watches. About the only difference, some of them don't have second hands, but some of them do have date hand. But this, I thought, you could probably, I bet you could get something like this. And again, you have a sapphire what are they called? Carbochone, with a, inside of a gold, this is steel, so I can't show you on that. Really a heck of a watch, though. And I was thinking, now, there's another line is called the Agathon. And I looked at them, and now the MSRP on these is slightly more expensive. They got the same essential movement. And the lowest price I found, and in fact, it was the only price because there are not a lot of them, was $88.58. And this is pre-owned. Now, the first one I showed you is brand new. So that was another thing that they had promised on that. So here's another of the men's models. This is called the Agathon. Now, the Agathon has a lot of different models to them, and some of them, for example, FAB is their reference number. This is the FAB 208. It's a chronograph. It's got a Frederick Piguet 1185 movement in it. Then they have a regulator, manual winding. It has a Frederick Piguet 1856 in it. Now, there's in a lot of the movements, again, finding stuff out about Frederick Piguet movements is very difficult. They actually, Frederick Piguet bought Blancpain, and so there's something called Blancpain manufacture. Anyway, but this is most of them. There's a big tie-in between Faberge and Frederick Piguet. Now, bringing it up to date, this is the 2023. The watch that was originally called the Alexi is now called the Altruist, and it very similar design. You can see the same kind of guilloche in it. But it's got some interesting hands. These are called Faberge hands, and essentially what they are, they're um, brigade hands with a little oval in it, and the oval is for the famous Faberge egg. Okay. This one's 41 millimeters, 18 karat gold. Now it has a different movement in it, and this is Vaucher manufacturer Fleurier VMF. This one's called the VMF 3000. It's an automatic, dual barrels in it, 50 hours, 4 hertz. Now the price on this is 17,500, which is really like $500 more than what the original ones were back in the early 2000s. And they're also using gold and a very similar kind of case too. Now the details on it is it has a white oboline hand guilloche. Now what that means is that it's engine turned by hand. And then what are called the brigade type with the oval eyelet is known for them now as the Faberge hands. I think it's sort of a cool idea. Okay, now so going from the Alexi, which I think you can get. I'll bet you can get a brand new one of those with box and papers for about $4,500. That's my guess. Okay, even though they're listed higher. This, by the way, too, if you go to a couple main places that have them, one is Ashford and the other one is Gymnasium. The prices keep changing. They're all over the place. And where I found the best deals actually was where they advertised on Chrono 24. Okay, so when you go from the Alexi to the Altruist, you have a pretty straight line and good movements in all of them. Now then there's a jump, and I mean a quantum leap, and this is where you have the newer Faberge, the Visionaire DTZ, a Grand Prix winner. It has an AGH 6924, which is an Agathon movement in it. 32,450. Now these get up into like seriously expensive, but I mean really top of the line movements. And like I said, it won a Grand Prix award. This is back in 2016. The other awards that were won with not the same watch but the same movement, they have, in fact, this is one of my favorite of all of them, the Faberge Visionaire chronograph. Now this chronograph uses the caliber AGH 6361, which is an Agathon chronograph, 3 hertz. There are 2 other watches that won a Grand Prix award with this movement in it. They did something sort of really dumb, and they had this watch with the chronograph and the original Singer with a chronograph. They both entered the same category at the same time in the Grand Prix. Well, it ended up neither one of them won. Later on, Singer did win, and then further on, with a variation of this, so did H. Moser. So I mean, it's a heck of a watch. Mainly because of the Agathon movement in it. Now, another thing before I wanted to finish up, I want to take a look at some of the women's watches. Here again, you have really good movements in their watches. There's a line called the Faberge Dalliance, and this particular one, which I like a lot, you have a little sun and moon for arms that are behind I guess sort of a cloudy looking sun or moon. This has a caliber AGH 6911, hand wound, 3 hertz, of $21,000, and a very attractive one. I don't know of any of these watches who, when they entered a Grand Prix, that didn't make the finalists. This one didn't win an award, but it did. It was one of the finalists. I don't think it won an award. It may have. Um, then there's the what they call the Faberge Flirt, 14,000. Again, both of these are 36 millimeters, 18 karat rose gold. Now, the thing about the Flirt, it comes in a lot of different colors. The one that I had up there is very sort of a beige color, very elegant looking. But on the other hand, they have ones in lemon and orange and blue for more, I don't know, colorful, I guess, something to go with different things. And they also have a very formal one in black. All of these are 14,000. They all have the VMF 3000 movement in it, which is by Boscher manufacturer Fleurier. Again, really top-notch movements. Now, the final one I want to look at is called the Complete Peacock. This one's 38 millimeters, 18 karat gold. This one sells for $34,500. It won the 2015 Ladies High Mech prize. Again, here you have an Agathon movement, an AGH 6901, and the peacock's tail moves for the seconds. It's really an amazing watch. There's a picture of the movement. The 3 hertz balance, 50 hours, hand wound. What a watch. Now they have fancier versions that are a lot more expensive. I think the one that they actually entered in the Grand Prix was the same watch, except they had the jeweled version, and that goes for around $100,000. Or I think it was 98,000 Swiss francs. Well, listen, take a look. If you're looking for a really good formal watch for a great price, take a look at the ones that we talked about at the beginning. If you get in a lot of trouble with your wife, this will make her happy. Anyway, let me know what you think. Opportunity to subscribe if you like. And until next time, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Art Sci, the art and science of watch collection.